Well, we had a very interesting time the last time we talked about feeling better and doing things, and we're all a great family, and we gave it a lot of thought on how each of us could sort of feel better in our work and enjoy it even more if possible. And what we're trying to think about is that when we work together as people thinking about each other, somehow everybody's happier when they come to work, and we'd like to see that, and we've had some talks about that. So today what we're going to talk about is let's see how we as a family can do a better job for each other. So what were you going to tell me?
That's it. So along the lines of our conversation, we were talking about being thankful for things and remembering the good things that happen in our lives. And Mr. Wilson shared a story with me a while ago, and I'm so excited for everyone to hear this. I think this really stood with me. So I'm going to set the story up, okay? So the year is 1944, and the place, you were in Austin, Texas, right?
Camp Hood.
Camp Hood.
Which is now Fort Hood, Texas.
Which is now Fort Hood, and it's basic training.
Right.
Okay. So the story goes that you're in...
The story you can tell them?
Well, I'm going to build it up. So you were looking at a weekend pass, right? You're pretty excited. And then, is it residue was found in your rifle?
Well.
So for all our military people, you know that now the weekend pass is looking like it's going away, right?
It gone away.
So you didn't know it at the time, but your brother, Ernie, who was in the Army Air Corps at the time, a lieutenant and a pilot, and it had been about a year and a half that you'd seen him, right? About that long?
About that long, yeah.
So Ernie...
The war was on at the time, and he was, a lieutenant flyer, and he was an instructor in teaching people to fly B-25s in the Air Force.
So he's in Texas on some sort of military business.
Yeah.
You don't know this.
No.
And he somehow finds his way to your base, and he, being a lieutenant with some status, spoke to someone and was able
My lieutenant, yeah.
And was able to manage a weekend pass that was drifting away from you. So your big brother saved you.
Right.
So that in itself could be pretty good, right?
Great.
Except the next part of the story is really great, which is you get the weekend pass, but then he takes you flying in a plane that he was flying for the first time ever.
Right. I'd never been in an airplane before, and it was a two-seater plane, and so we flew around Austin, and here I am, this private sitting behind my brother. It was really an exciting, wonderful time to think nice things can happen when you're in trouble, and I was very conscientious as a soldier. I don't know what happened. Somebody must have done something to my rifle. Anyway, it was really quite a deal for my brother to take me up in the air and fly me and come back. And so showed me Austin. We had a great time there. And I always thought, well, there's some good things that happen when you're in the Army, too. And this was one of the great things. So I had this memory which has never gone away. Really nice to think about it, isn't it? So sometimes when you're really down and out, if you can think about the good things, this is pretty good.
You always say you're the richest because you have all the...
Yeah, well, I'm a very rich person because at my age, I've got a lot of wonderful memories to think about. I got a lot of bad things to think about, but why should I think about the bad things when I can think about the good things? Like girls. No. I didn't mean that.
What a great big brother. Same brother that tied your shoes all the time, right?
Oh, come on.
I love that story. So this whole story, when we were talking, it reminds me because you talk a lot about being thankful for the good things and always thinking of them and remembering them because sometimes we can become too busy where you could lose sight of some of those positive things.
That's right. I feel that strongly. And we're all the same because, you know, there isn't anybody that doesn't have problems. And we've gone through this before. Everybody's got a pack on their back. And the more you look at it, you realize whether you're rich, whether you're poor, you're going to have problems. That's just part of life. And nobody's going to get away from them. But if you think all the time about your problems, you can't think about your work, you can't think about anything else. And if you're going to do that, okay, that's your life and you're going to be a miserable life. But on the other hand, if you can think about the good memories and the good things, just think how much time you can spend. I keep thinking about, gee, I was up in the air. It was just great. There's a lot of nice things that happened to me. And things, really terrible things happen every day. For a terrible example, my son, Tim Wilson, his house was broken into yesterday and the things were robbed. They took my father's watch out of there and such. So we could be feeling terrible. And if you don't think we don't feel terrible, it is. But are we going to think about that all day long? Or are we going to think, well, it happened. Nothing I could have done about it, nothing he could have done about it. It happens. And you've got to go forward and say, but gee, there's a terrific opportunity today. I can bamboozle a whole lot of people talking to you, right? So that's a good deal. I've got you all conned. So isn't that a great thing that I've got to do today? I think that's, so you see, you got to think of the positive. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep, because the last time we were here, the last chat with Charles, you spoke about the power of being positive and how that can make an impact on your life. And so as we're preparing for this one, as we're talking, that was something that was important to you, was to talk about not only being positive, but thinking about the good things that happened. I mean, this story is 1944, and when you shared it with me, you had such a huge smile that it was making you feel good, even just remembering that story and sharing it.
Yeah, well, that's true, absolutely, you know.
And then you wanted to ask the group if any of them wanted to share some good stories.
Yeah, does anybody have a story that you think is really good? Yes.
Oh, yay.
Come on.
For my 40th birthday?
Get up.
Okay. I have to share this because it was so much fun.
This is Yvette here in L.A.
Hi. So for my 40th birthday, I jumped out of a plane.
Whoa.
And it was amazing. So amazing. I love it, and I totally recommend it. So yeah, that was
But you think about it a lot of times?
all the time.
So you see?
I laughed. It was so much fun.
So whenever things are bad, just think about the wonderful time you had, right?
Yes, it was
And
so
then
much fun.
And then, so
I'm out.
now the next thing we want to do, is there anybody else got a story in place? Nobody's had a good thing. We got a bunch of sad sacks. Well, think about it. Next time we meet, I want you to think about some good things that have happened to you.
Some good stories to share.
We've also discussed the fact that when you can help somebody, it's the greatest thing in the world. It's the greatest satisfaction in the world. When you see somebody that's down and having problems, particularly that you work with, if you can just make them feel better by getting them to think of some good things, you're going to do a lot for them. And you know what? life is, from my vantage point at my age, if I can help somebody, it's a lot better than sitting around moping about myself. And if it's just an incredible deal. We were talking about that, weren't we?
Absolutely. I remember in that conversation you shared how giving is a very, and this really struck me because I never heard it described this way, but you said giving is a very selfish act. And I remember I looked at you and excuse me, giving is usually for whom you're giving to. And you said, no, think about it. You feel so good when you do it. And I'd never heard it described like that before.
Well, it's true. You feel good when you have the ability to help somebody, or give them something, or, people give to charity. Well, some people give to charity to make themselves look good, but other people give because they know they're going to help somebody. And you're giving, and you're doing yourself a favor because you feel good because you did it. So that's what we're talking about. And it's crazy. You'd think, well, why are we wasting business time doing these things? But if we can talk to each other and do more helping each other, the business works better too. So see, I'm selfish on that respect too. See, I'm not all, I'm not all stupid, but pretty close. So what else you got to tell me?
Well, I found out when you got your first driver's license. And not only did I find out, he still has it.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a great way that I found out because I don't know if everyone here knows it or not, but Mr. Wilson has a birthday coming up this month. And so I asked him, which...
Would you do that to anybody? Would you tell them about their birthday? Come on.
So I was asking you which birthday or which birthdays stood out the most. For some of us, it's 16 years old, your license, maybe 21, 18. There's different 40 out of an airplane. So having had 92 birthdays, I thought maybe there would be a few that stood out. But there was only one that stood out, and it was when you turned 12 because you could get a full-time paper route job. And so that led us on, and then I said, well, what about your driver's license? Weren't you excited to be able to drive like everyone else? And so then you said, well, share your license.
Well, I've got it here, but I didn't get it. Well, it's my license that I got was when I was in the Army, actually. And I still have it, which shows that I can fly, drive Jeeps, I can drive trucks, I can drive those things. And it's pretty old. That was only 1943, I guess, 44.
So it wasn't quite the same as getting it and cruising around.
No. But I still have it, and I showed him that. It was pretty good. But it is interesting when you think, and the reason I wanted a paper route at 12 meant that I could earn a little more money because things were very bad in the Depression. And that way I could earn all of my own money. And my brother had a paper route, and I had a paper route. And the two of us then could do a lot to help our mother. So that was see, you've got to look at the wonderful things. So I always think back, gee, I'm now old enough to have a paper route. And now I look back and I say, how can I look back that far? Because I'm not going to be 92, I'm going to be 93 in June 16th. So there you go.
I made that mistake and I called you 93 and you sharply corrected me.
Well, I'm not 93 yet. Give me time.
So the next time we come together, we'll look forward to some good stories from the group.
Yeah, well, I think that would be
journey.
great. I want each of you to think about it. What's good about things, not what's bad about things. Because everybody's got bad. I want to tell you, like here, my son, I mean, it was just yesterday. Now, who in the hell knows that something's going to happen? You get your house broken into. It's crazy, but it happens. Or you see those poor kids at the concert in Manchester. I mean, how can people do that? But it happens. You can see people going, one of the worst things, just here recently, I had some friends, they're older people, and the wife was in the hospital, and the elderly gentleman would come to visit her all the time, and he came out of the hospital to go get something to eat, which he would, and while he was visiting her, he was a man in his 80s. Car hits him and kills him, and that was just a month ago. Now, things happen, terrible things happen, but the fact is, it was a good thing. He was terrific with his wife. He was there for all those years. So there's pluses and there's minuses. You got to think about the pluses.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway. Is that regardless, you've taught me to focus on the positive, and you're happier.
Also, when you can help somebody else and tell them, look, we know you're going through hell, because every one of us are. And if there's anything I can do, or I got a suggestion, let's go out and have a cup of coffee together, or do something, I think you'll find that that's pretty good. And that's more important than all the business and all the things. Your family's more important than anything. Got to take care of them. Got to do things for them.
So we'll look forward to some of your stories, but don't go jump out of airplanes to come back with a story. Right?
Okay, is there anything else? No? Now we can all go back to work. So